Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. This is the road leading to Brother Sheikh Mustafa Abdullah's house in Camp Hill, Alabama. He lives down in the country. We had to come down a dirt road to his house. Very pleasant drive this afternoon. This is in rural Alabama. $100 ago, I wouldn't have been standing on this road. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What follows is my interview with Sheikh Mustafa Abdullah. What year was that, Sheikh?
Well, now that I can, well, let me explain it to you like this. I grew up in Harlem, New York. And there was a friend of mine, I met him in a hospital in New York. We became close friends. And we used to sit up at night, talking. We were smokers, so I didn't beat around the bush with it.
Okay.
We smoked a little marijuana, but all of us were doing that then. And it wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't harmful to me. And they're finding out today that it wasn't harmful, although they killed a lot of people over it and threw a lot of people in jail for it. But they find out more and more that there's more good out of it than there is harm. So we used to sit up late at night and we talk religion, politics, art like music and things like that. And he was a Catholic. And I used to tell him, man, God is not a man. I used to argue with him about that. And I wasn't really anything. I just knew that what was going on around me wasn't it, because I knew God was not a man. And I used to say more especially, the simple fact, God certainly wasn't a white man, because he was acting too mean to me. I'm just telling it like it is. And so one day he said to me, wow, brother, I just finished reading a book that talk like you be talking. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, this book say God is not a man and things like that. And that there's only one God. And, it sounds similar to what you be talking about. I said, you gotta be kidding. He said, no, I'll give it to you. I'm almost finished. I'll let you read it when I'm finished. So a few days later, he let me have the book. And it was the meaning of the glorious Quran by, what's the Englishman's name?
Pickthall?
Pickthall, Mamadou Pickthall, yeah. The meaning of the glorious Quran. That's what it was. He gave it to me, and I started reading it, and this is the truth. I read it like all across the day. I just read it until I was through with my day. The next day I got up and finished reading it. It took me about 2 or 3 days. And I read the whole book because that's all. Once I started reading it, it looked like I just couldn't stop reading it. Because I guess I was searching, looking for a mistake. I was looking for something wrong so I could criticize it. And I kept, I just continued to read and read, and I couldn't find what it was that would stop me. So I just continued to read from the beginning right through to the end. It took me 2 or 3 days. And then, after that, I said, well, Wow, I thought Elijah Muhammad and talking about they Muslim. I said, that is not what this book says. This book has got nothing to do with that foolishness. And so, because everybody was trying to tell me, I was saying about, well, this book is about Muslims. But they said, well, that's not Islam. I said, no, it's not. Elijah and them, that's not Islam, that's not Muslims. So I didn't read the book. That's not it. And I guess it must have been it took a year or two after that. I was just wondering what's happening. The news would show Muslims at the United Nations, and my wife, she was a Christian at the time too, and she didn't like it at all. But I was searching, trying to find out about Muslims. And one day, somebody living across the street from us mentioned something about a Sheikh Dawood in Brooklyn. And I was a musician, I played guitar, jazz guitar. And there was another fellow, he played piano. And we used to get together almost every Sunday afternoon. Had a fellow named Herky Brown, he was a saxophone player. This is all out in Long Island. And we used to get together on Sunday afternoons. But we would always end up talking about, religion and stuff. I know people think musicians are wild, crazy, drug addict, women chasers, but all musicians are not like that.
About what year was this, Sheikh?
Oh, it had to be about, that period would have been to 57, 58.
Okay.
And then it was in 59 when I heard about Sheikh Dawood in Brooklyn. So this brother, his name became Elwan Rashid. He and I went one evening over to Sheikh Dawood's and searched him out, found him, and we spent the whole evening there talking with him. We left, it must have been, it was late that night, because I think he had the midnight shift, because he was working at it's like a city in Long Island, but it's for, mental patients. I forget, the Pilgrim State, I think it is.
Okay.
And so I had to take him out there at midnight. That's when we left Sheikh Dawood's. We took our shahada that night. And we went to, I took him to work. And anyhow, like I said, my wife, boy, she was hurt.
About how old were you then, Sheikh?
Well, that was 59, 57, I was 32.
Okay.
So, I was 32. But I was born in 27. And so, how can I put it? I started going to Sheikh Dawood's, and I found that most of the people in the line at that time at Sheikh Dawood's, that was Americans, Americans. I saw them the day when one time everybody in the line it looked like was a musician. We all played some kind of instrument or something, Just a minute, I got the phone. Cut. Yo. All right. I'm sorry, I'm busy right now. All right. So, okay. Yeah, I found most of them, almost everyone on the line, sometime was a musician. Idris Muhammad.
Why do you think this?
Uh,
Why do you think the musicians were inclined towards Islam?
well, it was
I've often wondered
it
about
was
that.
it was something about conversation and a way of thinking. Now I'm gonna say somebody might not like it, but like I said, we were smokers, and when we would smoke, we didn't smoke and start talking up some woman's dress and other crazy crap. We would smoke and sit around and talk about politics, religion, reality, and we would argue a thing down. It seemed like it was mind expanding or something. And the smoking, it would create a different type of conversation. And we seemed to be searching for truth, reality. And we knew that, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't in Christianity that was being presented. And it wasn't in anything that was being presented, really. But we found, like I had said before, when I read Quran, I was searching to find a critique, some reason why to put it down and say, oh, that's not it. But I didn't run into that. Do you understand? And it seemed to be something, how can I put it? It was, I don't know, it just seemed it was right, not just for me, but for everybody. And when I say that, I mean, I had put something one time, I put it in one of my books. My daughter said this was the best part of a book that I wrote, was a page that I had about right and wrong, where I said the judgment between, people say you can't judge between right and wrong, but I say you can. Right and wrong is, if it's wrong and everybody did it, there'd be nothing but chaos, craziness. And if it's right and everybody did it, there'd be peace and righteousness going on, you know, happiness, joy. Everybody be satisfied. If I could say, if everybody was a liar, lying got to be wrong. Because if everybody was a liar, you couldn't do anything. If everybody was a murderer, you couldn't do anything. These things are bad. But if everybody was truthful and peaceful, nobody would get hurt. There'd be no harm. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So,
let me ask you another question, Sheikh. At this time, 1959, 1960, early 60s, in Harlem and Brooklyn, what was the atmosphere like when people had to decide between going into Elijah Muhammad's movement or coming into the real Islam?
well, like I said, the only place that had what you said was real Islam, or at least a gateway to real Islam in New York that I knew of was Sheikh Dawood's. Now, but they had men like Malcolm X. He was a very charismatic, and so because of him, a lot of people was prone to turn, especially the black people, because They said, well, this is freedom from the white man, blah, blah, you know what I mean? That was, a lot of them just became with Elijah Muhammad just because of, it was anti-color, anti-white, like.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a draw for a lot of the black people. But the true Islam attracts blacks, whites, anybody, everybody. And you can see that today. Real Islam attracts anyone that's looking for the truth. And so, like I said, you know, but the media will give Malcolm X a lot of play because and promoted it because they wanted that to be people's opinion of Islam. They didn't want the real Islam here in the United States of America. I didn't know that or believe that at the time, but I found that later. That seemed to me to be the case.
What was your experience with Sheikh Dawood? What kind of brother was he?
Well, he was a very, how can I say, I can't say anything bad about him, so he must have been a pretty good guy. The only thing, you know, well, how can I put it? That later in time, there was times when I guess I was a little too pushy. 1 or 2 times, you know, I blew up a little bit. Because I was young and, you know, pushing. Because he didn't, how can I put it? We tried to get him one time to get a permission for our children to get out of school on Friday to go to Juma. And he didn't, something like that, he didn't like to oppose the government, if you know what I'm saying. He would say, well, you got to obey the law. He believed in that. And we tried to get him to push too hard. He wasn't a confronter. He liked to go, you know, the soft way.